Okay, we're going to start with the facilities committee meeting. We'll first start with roll call. We'll start with Mr. Schultz and work around the table, please.
Dan Schultz, present.
Julie Haywood, present.
Jennifer Lemon, present.
Leah Mulhern, present.
David Cohen, present.
Charles Bordeaux Williams, present.
Joel Fishbein, present.
Zachary Epps, present.
Thank you. Next, we have the minutes from September 5th. I'll entertain a motion for this to be approved.
So moved, Jennifer Lemon.
Second, Leah Mulhern.
Any questions, comments, proposed changes? All in favor of them being adopted?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And next, I'll turn it over to Mr. Holman for the presentation.
Good evening, all. Hope you are doing well. Next slide, please. All right. As you are all well aware, we had a power outage at the high school Friday. This was a freak occurrence. We have power failures all the time in the district. However, these are total power losses, and the power comes back on all at once. This time, a limb from a tree laid across power lines. The tree's not visible in this photo that you see. It's way in the back. So this caused the loss of multiple three-phase motors in the building. We're still assessing to the extent of the motors that were lost. What we know so far is that we lost the exhaust fan motors for the pool and a couple of unit ventilator motors. As we continue to evaluate, I'm sure that this will grow. All right, the events on Friday led to a planned power outage on Sunday, which was scheduled for the removal of a leaking transformer. This was a Pico transformer, so there was no charge to the district for this removal. Next slide, please. This is part of the high school campus that we were unaware that we were responsible for. The Shellham Township code official determined that this piece of land belongs to the district, so the grounds department addressed the issue to create a safer area for bikers and pedestrians. Next slide, please. We're continuing our work on beautifying Elkins Park. We can't get everything done over the summer, so as we made our commitment to Elkins Park, we're moving forward with that. So that's just some of the work that's been done: trimming of trees, curb painting, so providing that access to the school. The facilities department has worked with the Office of School Safety to install the signage that sadly in this day and time is needed as deterrence. That's Elkins Park also and the district office. So, in speaking with Mr. Bordeaux Williams and Mr. David Cohen at our pre-meeting, the topic of sustainability arose. The Philadelphia School District has a robust sustainability plan developed and coordinated through the Office of Environmental Management and Services, better known as OEMS. And they work hand in hand with the Office of Facilities. Here is a page from the plan. It assigns who is responsible for each aspect and who the partnering department is. As you can see, all these things fall right into the wheelhouse of Facilities Department. This past Friday, we were scheduled to have a meeting with the environmental group and Ms. Karen Shafford, but that was canceled due to the power outage. Also, just about an hour ago, I received an email from Eco Schools, which is a sustainability platform that we're looking to partner with to help us meet our goals. Next slide, please. I've been tasked with developing a capital plan. The department is going to utilize Bureau Veritas Asset Calc to help develop the capital plan. The buildings have been cataloged and inventory regarding mechanical, plumbing, and electrical assets. I cannot take credit for this as it was here when I arrived. Since the arduous task of compiling the data was already done, it only makes sense to utilize it. Next slide, please. How do we determine what our needs are for capital plans? Well, there are two ways: remaining useful life, which is the remaining useful life of the piece of equipment, and the priority score. The priority score puts a number ranking to the condition of an item in question in regards to the building's overall condition from a safety and operational standpoint. The higher the number, the greater the importance of the repair or replacement. This concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Any questions or comments from the board?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm really glad to hear that there's movement in the sustainability and environmental policies front. I've heard from Karen Sheffrin, the teacher, over the years that she's ready to work, and I'm glad that work is commencing. I hope to hear good things about how it goes.
Hope to work well with her. I'm very excited about her also.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Holman. For the Bureau Veritas, how are we dovetailing that with our facilities plan or assessment?
Well, this is one part of it, right? Capital plan is one part of it. The facilities master plan is the other part, other side of the house, right? So when you look at it, the capital plan is developed to keep our buildings, that new buildings we already have, keep them operating efficiently and effectively and safely. So the my understanding is the master plan is just that, the overall picture for the district and buildings. Does that answer your question?
We have to overlay some of this data as it relates to whatever we're going to
Absolutely.
decide.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Any other
I-
questions or
I think-
comments from the board?
I think preventative maintenance is the term, the Bureau Veritas is the preventative maintenance on the existing facilities versus the plan moving forward for renovation of existing facilities.
Okay, thank you.
Regarding the power outage at the high school, I know you mentioned, and I've also heard anecdotally that power surges aren't uncommon. They happen, and usually the generator just kicks in and starts up. Why didn't that? What happened, or what was different about this particular power surge that caused the generators to fail?
The generator does not power the entire building.
Okay.
It powers emergency things, like the freezers, the computer systems, things of that nature. Now, yeah, we did have a failure at the generator, no denying that. But no matter what, we would have been exposed. Sure. With the motors failing. Those motors, like the pool motors, they're not controlled by the generator or backed up by the generator. So, all right.
I guess what and I know you're on it, it's just is there anything we can do? Because it obviously happened externally, it was a tree branch.
Right.
Is there anything we can do to protect ourselves from not just the mechanical having repairs, but also losing a day of school and the disruption to the programming?
So I reached out to Car and Duff Electric today. I asked them to come out and give us a price for a surge protector for the entire building. So I'm on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's that.
I should live with that.
I have
We can all bring in our
Yeah, we'll
surge
just bring-
protectors from home.
Thank you, that answers my question.
Gotcha.
Mr. Epps?
Yeah, thanks. A follow-up. You mentioned in one of the cases, PICO took full liability in the tree limb. Like, I guess, what is in terms of who's liable for the tree limb falling on the power lines? Was that district property? Like, is there
That's going to be a question for our listeners.
Gotcha.
Figure out.
Okay.
So just, let's get past this first and then, assess all the damages and move on from there. Get a list of
got
all
it?
the motors that we lost.
So still assessment phase right
Yes.
now in terms of what actually is the problem. Gotcha. And then the capital plan, should we, board members of the public, expect the plan to include, what I hear is some data is being gathered in terms of another assessment, like what needs to happen, what the priorities, or is it an actual, this is a priority and it will be addressed by Q1 of some point, that type of plan? Or could you just elaborate a little bit on what we should expect to see?
Yes, it will reflect where we're at as far as quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four, as a budget allows. That's the defining factor, how much money we have in the budget to do the things we need to do. I don't know if you can see it, but the plan now has 19 items in it. So, but those all 19, Josh and I would sit down and figure out which ones we're gonna do right now, or which ones we're gonna hold off on.
And then that will be the capital plan.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Correct.
Yeah, Bureau Veritas is like the preventative maintenance, so it's all the SSBM, it's filter changes, it's parking lot recodings, it's all of those bigger projects for, that need to be taken care of on an annual basis through the budget versus the feasibility plan, which is how long does this building last? What's our plan moving forward for construction? That's the distinction.
Yeah, and you provided clarity. I just wanted to make sure the plan isn't, hey, this is what needs to be fixed and this is the priority number. It's really like, this is what we are going to address on a certain timeline. That's the
Correct.
plan. Yeah,
Correct.
cool. Thanks.
So Mr. Epps, when you say the plan, you're actually would be referencing the capital plan. The master plan's already done. That's the overarching plan. We take all of the information based on assets and life expectancy and prioritize 1 year out, 2 years out, 3 years out, and so forth, what we have to address, which hence becomes the capital plan, which is directly attached to our budgetary needs from year to year. So that's we already have the master plan. We're using the master plan now to prioritize what that 1 to 5 year capital plan should look like, which to Mr. Swigert's point is completely separate from the feasibility study that we're doing. However, that will loop in as well. That's it for me.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Yes, Mr. Schultz.
Sorry for second question. I just wanted to reiterate what Mr. Fishbein said, but and follow up with a question. Maybe it's for the co-chairs around the sustainability item. I'm really happy to see us start to build momentum on that again. Prior to COVID and prior to a whole bunch of administrative changes, we had begun the process. We had passed a resolution. We begun the process of starting to look at a sustainability policy, so an actual policy that go into detail. What are, with that model that you presented as inspiration, what are the next steps or even high, and I understand we're in the process of developing next steps, but when will we hear back next, or what should we look forward to in terms of when we might get an update on that progress in the facilities committee?
So the lady who was from Eco Schools, the partner I'm looking to site I'm looking to partner with, rather, she was at a conference. So like I said, I just heard back from her today. I was going to meet with Ms. Shafran last week, but we had a power failure.
Understood.
So I want to get her input. You know, everybody has ideas, and I want to embrace all ideas that are sustainable, right? So but that's, you know, if you look at our football games, we have the solar lights out there now. So we are already taking on those kind of small wins. So but you will hear back next meeting.
Okay.
At least with an update.
Understood. Yeah, no, I'm not expecting final things by next meeting, but yeah, an update next meeting sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
About the high school, the fire alarm, or not the fire alarm at the high school. How is that? Is it sort of?
Being totally transparent. I was called out last night to it, and that's why I'm a little tired today.
Sorry, I didn't know that.
But you know, we're working out the kinks. That's being totally transparent. You know. But you know, it was we had those. We're still trying to figure it out. So you know, but we're in a good place with it. You know, called the service contractor came out, met us on site, and we move on from there. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions, comments from the public? If you please state your name and where you reside in the township.
Is this questions on the agenda only or just facilities questions in general?
It should be related to the agenda only.
Okay, so in regards to the high school, for the power outage for last week, is something when you communicate to the parents about what exactly happened and what's the plan going forward? Because We got a ton of calls from kids saying, we smell smoke, we don't know what's going on, we think there's a fire alarm first was going on. Fire department was there for several hours after they were dismissed, with no other explanation besides power has been restored several hours later.
So what happened was, we did a walk through the building, every classroom. The fire department has a map of every classroom in the school, right? As well as we do also. So, we sent teams of firemen and our custodians and security people around the building with the teams of firemen to ensure that nothing else was an issue. Correct.
Thank you. And in terms of the fire alarm, I know that's been an ongoing issue. I believe my son has told me, at least once or twice a week, they're outside because of the fire alarm. I think it's become that the kids are desensitized to hearing that alarm. That's my concern, that it's something that actually is going on. They're so used to having, oh, the fire alarm is going off again. We're just gonna run outside whenever we get outside. So the question is there a timeline on when that is actually fixed, or we still don't know? Because it goes off several times a week, disrupting class.
I understand, and we are at the hands of the installers at this point. So it's going forward from there, working hand in hand with them. Look, I understand frustration, so I don't like getting phone calls at night. You know, so it's so please bear with us, so I can ask for it. And if please share with your kids. If you hear the alarm, leave the school. Just exit the school. All right, that's the only thing I can say. You know, going forward. So. All right.
So if I could just jump in, Ms. Knox, with regard to Friday, as a result of the power surges, we had motors that failed. There were wires that were actually compromised in one of the motors that created the smoke smell in the auxiliary gym. That is when the fire alarm was actually pulled, and students actually did an excellent job exiting the building. So we had a hiatus where there were no issues with the fire alarms. We had made some adjustments. This was actually warranted last Friday. So we had multiple pieces that were moving all at the same time. The power outage was just one part in terms of us having no power in the building. As a result of having no power in the building and the issues that we were having with motors burning out, that's what caused the smoke, which was a separate issue, which we had to follow protocol. You see smoke, call 911. That's why the fire department reported, and we had to evacuate the building. So, and at that time, I happened to be there through the whole scenario. That's why we opted to get buses right back out to do the early dismissal for two reasons. One, we didn't have power throughout the entire building, and that was the main reason for us having to do the early dismissal. But then as a result, as Mr. Holman alluded to, we wanted to walk the entire building with our fire department to make sure that we didn't have any other motors or issues that were potentially going to arise, regardless of if there were kids or faculty in the building or not. And that is something that we're continuously working through. I always look at things with the glass half full. We are always the anomaly. Most districts, when they put a new fire alarm in, do not encounter what we've been encountering. This system has been hypersensitive. We've added additional covers. We made adjustments to the sensitivity of the alarm system. Last night was something completely different with beams and high tech things going on in the small theater. So we cannot control, we can only manage. And that's really why Mr. Holman is asking for the patience as we really try to manage as these new developments come up, where we have to tweak and modify to make sure that it is functioning as it should. But I just wanted to put everything out there in terms of what happened on Friday. So that should give everybody a full picture of what transpired. I was even out there directing traffic. So we wore multiple hats on Friday. Thank you.
Other questions from the public? And I believe we have nobody online, do we, in the Zoom meeting? No. I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Roman.